Go ahead and get things started. I want to thank everybody for attending today. All right, Morris, here we go. All meetings are to be opened and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I want to ask everyone who is able to please rise and face the east as we recite the Moorish American prayer. Now, we stand facing the east with our heels together and our feet at a 45-degree angle. And then we hold up 2 fingers on the left and 5 fingers on the right. And please repeat after me. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day. Through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. Islam, Moors. All right, Moors, I want to announce this meeting is now open. This is the Moorish Science Temple of America, Temple 30, Columbus, Ohio. First and foremost, we always rise giving the highest praise to the Most High, our Creator, our Sustainer, our Father, God, Allah. We extend honors to our divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali, for bringing us our divine creed and nationality so that we may learn to love instead of hate. We give honors to the forerunner to the prophet, Brother Marcus Mosiah Garvey, for preparing the way for purity and love. We extend honors to the Moorish and the American flags, and we extend honors to the Charter and its 10 wonders. We also extend honors to the first appointed Supreme Grand Sheikh by our prophet, Brother E. Millie Ill, and we extend honors to all the faithful and all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Lastly, we extend honors to the office of the Supreme Grand Sheikh and Supreme Grand Council of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Islam Moors, Brother Jackson Bey, if you would please read our divine constitution and bylaws.
Islam Grand Sheikh, I rise giving all praise to Allah, honor to the Prophet Drew Ali, honor to the forefathers and foremothers, and honor to the Asiatic nations and the Muslims all over the world. Salvation, Allah, unity, the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Divine Constitution and bylaws. Act 1. The Grand Sheikh and the Chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is empowered to make law and enforce law with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The Assistant Grand Sheikh is to assist the Grand Sheikh in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest. Because on a Friday, the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday, the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No member is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are part and partial of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. This organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and partial of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians. because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become part and partial of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you're entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his father, God Allah. Noble Drew Ali, founder, Moorish American prayer, Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. Moorish Science Temple of America, Home Office of Noble Drew Ali, Home Office, Chicago, Illinois, USA. Islam, Islam, Islamism. Peace and love.
Islam, brother, and gratitude. Brother Kobe, would you please read the writs of our prophet?
Islam, grand Sheikh, I rise and give perfect praise to the great God Allah. Rise and give honor to the Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Rise and give honor to the forerunner, Markham Messiah Garvey. Rise and give honor to all ills and bays, all monsters on the call and on the planet. To be proclaimed in every meeting. Islam, I am glad to know I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There's a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claimed that I was a joke and unreal. But now, since they found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that pay their divine respects to me and the movement will be remembered. That's why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance, and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam. This is instruction from your prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Be faithful to your forefather, divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and the judgment is on now. But the weak can comprehend it not. The end of times are drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I, Noble Drew Ali. And that is why many hearts have turned to stone. Many have eyes to see, but cannot see, ears to hear, but cannot hear, lest they'll be confounded of their sins. These are the trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving. They are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and natural principles of your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good work. Peace. Your divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Prophet warns all Muslims to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members they must end all radical speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be a severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet, or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their rewards from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their cardon button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Jew Ali. If the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans. They do their part in protecting the prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Peace. Noble Jew Ali. Islam, Islam, Islamism. Happy Sunday, school mosques.
Islam, brother, and gratitude. Gratitude, brother. So the great meeting is on, Moors. The great meeting is on. We're taking part in this right here and right now. This is not a game. Those of you who have been here with us, you know we don't play around here. This is serious. We take this very seriously. We're not playing around. We see the prophet on the cover of our Koran Questionnaire, lifting humanity out of the cares of the world and onto the solid rock of salvation. So this is what the great work is to do, right? To lift unconscious humanity, fallen humanity depicted as an unconscious woman out of the cares of the world, so that we're no longer drowning in the cares of the world, caught up in the cares of the world, and lifted onto the solid rock of salvation. Is very practical. This is not, I'm not saying there's nothing mystical to it, but this is not rocket science here. Not drowning in the cares of the world, not having the same problems that everyone else is having, not getting in our own way, not shooting ourselves in the foot, not getting stuck and caught up in the cares of the world that is making our lives more difficult, right? Bringing us into harm's way. But then also there's something else at play here too, right? So we're not going to go over all the questions today, just going to focus on a few, but we're looking at the purpose of the Moorish Science Temple of America. For what purpose was the Moorish Science Temple of America founded? For the uplifting of fallen humanity. So it's acknowledged that humanity has fallen. Humanity has fallen as a whole, in general, generally speaking. Also knowing when we look in our Quran, when we look in the divine origin of the Asiatic nations, looking at ourselves, right? We see in there that the keys to civilization was and is in our hands right now. So when we're talking about uplifting fallen humanity, right, it's not on some kumbaya, let's go hold hands and try to save the world. Not saying that we not going to help other people as well eventually, but it's talking about us, because the key of civilization was in the past and still is in the hands of the Asiatic nations, the Moorish, who were the ancient Moabites and the founders of the holy city of Mecca. Us, the so-called Black people, so-called African Americans right here in North America, even if we don't know that we have this illustrious history. And if the key of civilization was and is in our hands, that means if we've fallen, everybody's fallen. That means if you want to control the world, you must have some type of control over us, right? Or we must be asleep at the wheel. You can't control the world unless we're not paying attention. And so that's what really is at play here, right? We're not paying attention, we're asleep at the wheel, and things are running amok. And so by lifting ourselves up, by picking ourselves up, by returning to the ways of our forefathers and foremothers, instead of following the ways of others, we will begin to, of course, lift ourselves back up on that solid rock of salvation, but also we will affect the entire world. Eventually, we will affect other nations as well, right? In a positive way. Okay. So we're going we're going back into the questionnaire, but we're doing this for a purpose, right? So we're speaking about the uplifting of fallen humanity. And going back to what our brother Cole Bay just read from our Moorish literature, to the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam. This is the instruction from your prophet, Noble Drew Ali. When we hear that, we should be at attention right now because we know the prophet is sharing a message from Allah, right? He's in tune with the higher self. He's giving us messages from on high. Be faithful unto your forefathers' divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. And then it says, Allah is the one that judges the world. Wait, hold up. The world is being judged. These instructions are to be read at every meeting so that the tone is set for the meeting, what this is about. That's why it says on the cover of our Koran Questionnaire, the great meeting is on. That's why we don't come to the Quran class and sagging our pants and acting stupid, right? Not drunk. I'm not high. I'm not acting stupid. We take this very seriously. The great meeting is on. This is not a joke. As you go out into the world, right? This is why the prophet has us doing this Sunday and Friday. So as we go out into the world, we still have this compass to keep us on the straight path. So the great meeting is on. We're not playing around here. We have these proclamations are to be said at the beginning of every meeting. So the tone is set so that we understand. It's also why the Moors, especially back in the prophet's day, the men were wearing the suits and ties, right? The sisters, looking on point, wearing a dress, not trying to show off the body, trying to distract people. Nobody trying to distract anyone. Matter of fact, in the meetings, if you got somebody walking around for no reason at all, they're going to get up out of there or they're going to go take a seat, right? No standing around, people standing around, joking, snickering, little jokes on the side. No, none of that. No, this is serious. So Allah is the one that judges the world and his judgment is on now. But the weak can comprehend it not. The weak can comprehend it not. There are signs and symbols. There are things at play. And the weak don't even know what's going on or just don't care. Hey, it's video game time. Let me see what I can watch. What's something fun to do? The judgment is on. This is not a joke. So there's signs and symbols that are playing out for the whole world to see. When things happen here in America, it actually gets played out for the whole world to see, at least to a degree, right? You don't know what's happening right now in Brazil, and you don't care. You don't know what's happening right now in Indonesia. You don't care. I'm not saying that it doesn't matter for those millions of people, just saying you don't know, right? When an earthquake happens here in California, so everybody finds out, even in these other little places, these even obscure countries, they see it. And especially when something is being played out across the entire country, the whole world gets to see it. It gets played out so that it's announced to the entire world, hey, this is what's going on. Now, if you don't know how to read the signs and symbols, that's on you. But it's still being played out for everyone to see. So when these celestial events are happening, which they happen all over the world all the time, but when it happens to America, it gets played out for the whole world to see. And so that's why I want to talk about this briefly with the solar eclipse that's coming up. Of course, most of you, right, especially you here in Central Ohio, you know that we're supposed to see the solar eclipse, and it's a big deal because it doesn't happen here that often. And April 8th, right, next month, less than a month from now, it's going to be crossing through here. You're going to see the whole solar eclipse. But this is also the continuation of another solar pattern which happened 7 years ago. Right? And just that 7 years ago should make you perk up. Listen, because we know as Moorish Americans that time moves in what? We measure time in what? How do we measure time, Moors? We measure time in cycle ages.
Cycles 8. Yep.
So we're paying attention. We're looking at this, right? You had the solar eclipse. It came through 7 years ago, and it crisscrossed from, through the western to the eastern part, from the, I guess you say, the northwestern to the southeastern part, or vice versa. But it crossed through that way, northwest to southeast. And now it's coming northeast through part of the southwest. All right. So it's coming back. And this marks an X on America, right through the heartland of America. Right through the heartland. Okay. So we all should be paying attention to see what's going on. And I'm telling you, even though it might not be as big a deal, like if you're in Madagascar, you're not even going to see it. They still know about it. It still flash across their news screen. You don't see what happens in Madagascar unless it's a big deal. So this gets played out for the whole world to see. And so a lot of people, you'll see people online talking about, America's getting X'd out. The judgment's on. People will say that, but they're not going to say the stuff that we're going to talk about today, right? Nobody's really going to say that. But just going back to the prophet's words now, remember, we get this at the beginning of every meeting because this is the mode we're supposed to be in, Moors. It's not playtime. We're not supposed to be silly and goofy, at least not all the time, or at least not most of the time. And especially when it's temple time, right? When we're doing this, it's supposed to be time to cut the games off. Forget the silliness. Because why? Because these are trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving. And they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. All right. So we want to be paying attention. We want to open our eyes. We want to pay attention to see what's really going on. And that's what the Moors should be doing. When we congregate, come together, we're looking to see what's really going on. We're preparing. We're working to build our nation up. Right. So as I was saying, you'll see people talking about this crisscross. They've been talking about it for years, right? Ever since it happened. There's actually been, several celestial events occurring. Now, people in the past used to really pay attention to that stuff. Nowadays, there's so many distractions. Like there's just so many distractions, that a lot of people ain't even thinking about this, right? They're not even thinking about it in the slightest. But we're going to talk about it today. Just a little bit and put it in a Moorish American Muslim perspective and also see how this could apply or if it even does apply to us at all. Right. So, but it's got everyone's attention or it's got people's attention all over the world because it's happening here for us. All right. And then like I was saying before, it's coming through Columbus, Ohio. Right. So you will be able to see it if you're here in this area, April 8th. All right. Matter of fact, if you want to get the times, you can go online, go to NASA.gov. They show you when and where it'll come through. Right. So to get this part, portion of Northeast, South, Central Ohio, Dayton, I think you'll be able to see it too. All right. So it's crossing back through this area. But let's keep it moving. So these are the signs in the skies, though, right? Now, not too long ago, there was something that they were calling the Ring of Fire. Did anybody remember them talking about that? Because there's actually like a triple X coming across America, right? And it's a big deal, right? They're calling it the triple eclipse. So they've been talking about this for the last couple of years, and it's culminating now, right? But we're going to talk about how this applies to us, right? So they called this in the past, I think just 3 years ago, they were calling it the Ring of Fire solar eclipse. And the most spectacular part, I guess you could say, is happening in North America. Now, this year, there's one is going to be happening simultaneously here in North America, but then also in Africa. Okay. But I just want to, like I was saying, just want to briefly talk about how this, plays out and what it has to do with us. All right, because people will acknowledge that X across America. You will see other people saying or implying that it could mean, judgment is on for America, but nobody's going to acknowledge the symbols that are literally in the sky right now. Like you can literally see symbols in the skies right now, especially with that triple X that we just had up on the screen. Right here we go. Okay, right now. So these were the last three major pathways for the solar eclipses. Right, you had this one. It looked like it went through California, Nevada, and that was October 2023. So that was just last year. You had the great solar eclipse they were talking about back in 2017, right? That went through the Midwest. That was 7 years ago. And then you got the one that's coming through next month. This is the Xing it out. This is like the completion of that. Okay. All right. So everybody see that on the screen? So you'll hear people, some people will state the obvious. You can see the X going across America, but you won't hear anyone saying that these actually form symbols relating to our people here, right here in the Americas. All right. Now that X symbol that you see up there on the screen, let's go into, hold up. Let's go into the Hebrew alphabet, right? So when you see that X symbol down here at the bottom where it says Ta, you see the crisscross, the X, the Ta. The Ta means cross. It also means covenant, and it also means mark, right? It also stands for the number 400. So you got that right there in the middle of the country almost. You got that Ta symbol right there. Let me pull that back up for you. You got the Ta symbol right there. X or cross, whatever you want to say. The Ta also stands for 400. Okay. Then you also got something else going on here. Hold up. All right. So you got the Ta. And then you also got the Aleph symbol from the Hebrew alphabet. All right. And this is right here on the same solar eclipse panel just for the last couple of years. You got those right there. And one reason why this is powerful is because when we're looking at the symbols, we know the judgment is on. This is basically being put there for everyone to see. You go to Genesis, right? Okay. It says, in the beginning, Elohim, God created the heaven and the earth. In actuality, this says in the beginning, Elohim created the Aleph and the Ta. So for us, what this means is, because you'll always hear people say it's the last days, it's the end times. Our prophet let us know this as well. We know that's in chapter 48 in our Quran. He lets us know it's the end of time, right? To warn us, he came in these last days to warn us of the great wrath, which is sure to come upon the earth. We know he's not talking about the end of the earth. He was talking about the end of one age, the end times, right? But if it's the end of one time, it's also the beginning of another. So when you go to Genesis and it's letting you know this, right? In the beginning, right? Elohim, Elah, or Allah created, right? He created the heavens and the earth. this is what we're returning to. So for us, when we see these marks in the sky, it's letting us know, okay, yeah, we are returning to a new beginning. This is a new age for us. This is a new start. But the prophet also let us know something else. The destruction is coming. So for those of us who don't represent the higher self, this is a sign of destruction. This also why I wanted to bring up the message that Brother Cole Bay read from our Rich, from the prophet, where he's letting us know that the judgment is on now, but the weak can comprehend it not. The end of time is drawing near. That's why many hearts have been turned to stone, and many have eyes to see, but cannot see, ears to hear, but cannot hear, lest they will be confounded of their sins. Right? So this is what we're to be doing now, to be returning to our ways, regardless of what influences we have around us, regardless of what other people are trying to, hurt us towards. Because, in all honesty, in America, in its arrogance, right, they refuse to acknowledge our people. They refuse to acknowledge any of the damage that's been done to our people, any of the damage that's been done to our communities. And still in 2024, they refuse to acknowledge that repair needs to be done for the damage that's come across our communities, right? And not even talking about slavery, right? Because we've had, which slavery, was bad enough, but in addition to that, you had the attempted obliviation of our line of descent, where they, tried to disconnect us from our ancestors, creating new terms for us that delude to the descendants of enslaved Africans. Like, that's where you start off. You don't start anywhere before that, right? America refuses to acknowledge anything needs to be done about the Jim Crow laws that were passed, the legalized and sanctioned government lynchings, right? Where they legalized it, where they were literally deputizing people of European descent to go into our communities, to destroy them, to, rape, rob, and pillage our communities. They refuse to acknowledge that there needs to be repair done to our communities because they had the overthrow of our duly elected governments, right? We actually put people in power. We had mayors and all of these other officials, even state legislators, that they overthrew. So we've been going through this for a long time. And so that's what I'm saying with this symbol, with the TA representing 400 as well, right? And it's crossed out right there in America. This is speaking to us. You hear everybody saying we've been enslaved for 400 years. I don't like to say that or go along with that because I personally, I hate to start us off at slavery, right? I don't promote that 400 years of slavery, the bondage line of thinking, but I will acknowledge the slave making process that it took to mark us as Negroes, descendants of enslaved Africans. And so, yeah, that did start 400 years ago. They may not have gotten all of us to go along with it, but it did start back then, right? Matter of fact, when you go back 400 years ago, this is something that's actually recognized within the government, like in Virginia and several other states, that 400 years ago, they claimed the first Africans were brought here and were, enslaved, right, in 1619. So between 1620 to 1624, they actually had the first census where they had enslaved Africans listed on the census, right? So this is a real thing. And so this has been going on for all that time. And we're seeing signs and symbols, right, marked out in the sky that are actually acknowledging this or alluding to this, that are actually connected to this. And it's talking about us. Now, nobody's talking about us in the mainstream. They're not discussing it in this matter. They're definitely not connecting it to the African Americans. No, ain't nobody talking about that, right? Nobody's even putting it in that light. They're acting like none of that stuff happened. None of that stuff matters, right? But the prophet let us know hey, they may have eyes to see, but they cannot see, ears to hear, but cannot hear. Least they would be confounded of their sins. So in order for them to acknowledge what has been done, right? What does confounded mean? To acknowledge what has been done and what needs to be fixed and repaired would confound them. They would be confounded of their sins. What does confounded mean? Right? Let's get a definition on confounded.
Surprised about Islam.
Islam, brother, Islam. Yes. So surprised, used for emphasis, especially to express anger or annoyance. Cause, like you said, cause surprise or confusion in someone. All right. So you have the answer right there. The prophet already let it be known. So they can't even acknowledge it. They can't talk about it. They will be confounded of their own sins. Just to acknowledge what's been done and what needs to be done to repair it. Islam, brother, what please repeat what you were saying? Okay, pardon, brother. I thought you were just chiming in. So just going back to this, when the prophet was speaking about this judgment being on, right? He's saying, look, man, they can't even acknowledge what's really going on. They will be confounded of their own sins just to do that, right? So they have eyes to see, but cannot see, and ears to hear, but cannot hear. And their hearts have been turned to stone. So that's what we're dealing with. And many of you already know this. That's what we've been dealing with. So you can't expect them to do what's right. We still talk as if, like the prophet still talked as if they, possibly can do. Hey, if you do what's right, America will be the greatest nation on earth, right? To try to inspire and encourage people. We want to encourage people to be their higher self. We want to, to push people to be their higher self. It doesn't mean they're going to do it. But that's what we want. That's what we want to encourage. The highest of you, right? The best of you. Doesn't mean people are going to do it, though. But that's what we aim for. But these symbols are right here in the sky, and they're speaking to us. And you don't even need to see symbols in the sky necessarily to be able to relate it to us. You could just turn on the news and see and know that these are the end times. There's enough craziness going on to know there's no playtime, no time for foolishness, right? It's time to get right. It's time to take heed to these divine instructions because they contain laws from the Most High Allah, right? From the true and living, the creator and sustainer. And which laws in particular, let's go back to chapter 48. So going back to chapter 48, the last prophet in these days is Noble Drew Ali, who was prepared divinely in due time by Allah to redeem men from their sinful ways and to warn them of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. So for any who would say that or insinuate that the prophet is ahead of his time, right? He's almost 100 years ago. The Moors didn't get right. They dropped the ball. Well, he was in due time. It was supposed to happen. If this was just a fad, there's no way that we would be here right now today. Do you know how many movements started in the 1920s? There were people literally who were trying to create little utopia villages all across the United States in different areas, right? And so how come this didn't just disappear just like that? Never to be, heard from again. So it's here because the prophet came. He was prepared divinely in due time. He came right on time with the message. And the Moors did with it what they wanted to do. Right? Some, very, 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 very few actually held to these principles and kept it alive and tried to move it forward into the future for us. But most Moors turned their back on the prophet. And that's why now we, as a clean and pure nation, descended from the inhabitants of Africa do not desire to amalgamate or marry into the families of the pale-skinned nations of Europe, neither to serve the gods of their religion, because our forefathers are the true and divine founders of the first religious creed for the redemption and salvation of mankind on earth. We are returning, right, to the ways of our forefathers. Therefore, we are returning the church and Christianity back to the European nations as it was prepared by their forefathers for their earthly salvation, while we, the Moorish Americans, are returning to Islam, which was founded by our forefathers for our earthly and divine salvation. The covenant of the great God Allah. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be longer upon the earth land, which the Lord thy God Allah hath given thee. Right? So we can't get caught up in anything that is trying to deter us from heeding our prophet's divine instructions. Remember, he came to us, one of us, from North Carolina, and brought these divine instructions to us for these days and times that we're in. He didn't come too early. He came with this message for us right here, right now. That means that anyone or anything trying to knock us off our square is an enemy, is a servant of Satan, right? Satan, devil, dragon, and beast, which is their own carnal nature, the lower self. Hang on, Morris. Public service announcement, right? For the Moors, this is not a drill. For us, this is not a joke at all. Going back to our Koran Questionnaire, question 65. What is the devil sometimes called? The lower self. How many selves are there? 2. Name them: higher self and lower self. What people represent the higher self? The angels who protect the holy city of Mecca. What people represent the lower self? Those who were cast out of the holy city and those who accept their teaching. So it's not just those who were cast out, right? It's all of them. Those who were cast out and those who accept their teaching. What is their higher self? What is the higher self? The higher self is the mother of the virtues and the harmonies of life and breeds justice, mercy, love, and right. Can the higher self pass away? No. Why? Because it is Allah in man. What does the lower self breed? Hatred, slander, lewdness, murders, theft, and everything that harms. This also, if you meet people who are always having these types of problems and issues, they're not even realizing they're creating them. It's your own lower self. It's not the whole outside world is out to get you, because the lower self breeds these things. So that means it gives birth to it. So if we're having these issues, it's our own lower self creating it. All right. What did the higher self say to the lower self at one time when he met him? Where are you going, Satan? And what was the answer the higher self gave to the lower self? I'm going to and fro the earth, seeking whom I may devour. And that's it. Plain and simple. Right? So there's plenty of people not paying attention to any of this, not paying attention to any of these signs. We can't let anything knock us off our square. What if you meet a woman? What if she's real sexy? What if she's,
Join the meeting.
She looks real good. She likes you. And she's all about her, just about serving her lower self, her carnal nature. She ain't with this holy day mess, wearing turbans and whatever else we do. Nah. What's wrong with you? She ain't trying to do none of that. It's Friday. She ain't trying to do no holy day meeting, right? She trying to get something in her system, right? Some pills, some alcohol, something, right? It's Friday. It's time to party, right? They ain't doing no holy day. What are you going to do personally? Right? Muslim? Like you see the signs. You see what's going on. Are you going to entertain that? Right? Because it's on. We know it's on. Every time you cut on the news, you see literally it's on. Even if you're not paying attention to the signs, the celestial signs in the sky that's signifying the end times and even signifying the very judgment is on right now. As our prophet said, the prophet gives the ideal of what will happen if we work together in America. We could, do these great things. America will be the greatest country in the earth, but you ain't gonna do all that. Judgment is on. It's on. This is not a bad thing, right? For some, it means destruction, chaos, but then for others, it's a new beginning, refresh, right? Hit the reset. It's time for us to be prosperous. It's time for us to be building. It's good, right? So it's like, what are you gonna do, right, in your life? That's really what it's about. What are you gonna do, Muslim? Are you going to dumb out? Are you gonna hold fast? Because that's really what's going on right now. And are we returning to our own vine and fig tree? Are we about following trends? Are we trying to keep up with the times? Are we trying to be like the Romans? Because nobody else is going to tell it like this, except maybe like the Hebrew Israelites, maybe Farrakhan and them, right? The other Moors, but nobody else is going to tell us the entire truth. And they're not going to speak about the Red Summers. They're not going to speak about the coming into our communities, destroying, overthrowing our governments. They're going to act like that genocide didn't even happen. They make us learn. Didn't they make us learn about the Jewish Holocaust in school? You had to learn about something that happened all the way in Germany. But they ain't even tell you about the lynchings, the rape, robbery, theft, the planes dropping on our communities, our cities, or the overthrow of our duly elected governments. And that happened right here. They acted like it didn't happen. And they have to, least they would be confounded of their own sins. And they can't lie about it because they took pictures of it and put it on postcards to further terrorize us, to let you know, hey, we ran you up out of those communities. We had groups of so-called white men and children and women coming from other states with guns and bombs to run y'all up out of there because y'all were being too successful. Y'all, so they're not going to talk about any of that. They glossed over the forcing of Christianity on our ancestors while we learn about George Washington and all this other stuff. Nobody's going to keep it all the way real or warn us except for us. And we have a prophet, and they covered him up. They acted like he did not exist. That's why he came right on time. Let's see what the Moors are going to do. Because it ain't even about them. It ain't even about nobody else. Let's see what the Moors are going to do. Our own people took part in the cover-up. They all got on code. They all got on the so-called white man's code and kept this a secret, all of it, for nearly 100 years, except for a small few faithful Moors. So just going back to that, many of our own people represent the lower self, those who were cast out of the holy city and those who accept their teaching. And they're here for the destruction. And there's nothing we can do for them except to follow our divine instructions. We should be about building our communities up, right? Then we can begin to show the proper way as we enter into our covenant with Allah. But that sign means destruction for all those who represent the lower self. On the flip side, though, it means salvation for the light bringers, for those who represent the higher self. We understand, we know the higher self means Allah in man. So this is on. It doesn't mean April 8th, just all falls apart. It just means it's on. We see the signs. They make movies about it. They make shows about it. They had that movie just a few months ago on Netflix called Leave the World Behind, right? They've been showing it. There's no way around it, right? It's over. It's on. So this only is something bad for those who represent the lower self. That's it. Okay? And so I really just wanted to share that with us. This is something that's coming up too. I mean, you just want to see the solar eclipse, just see what it looks like, right? It's coming up. But as this is happening right here in the world and most people don't really know or care about what's going on, yeah, it does apply to us. And they not gonna talk about it on CNN or anything else, right? Nobody else is even thinking about us in that matter. But yeah, it's a big deal. Because the prophet told us that the keys to civilization was and is in our hands. And so that means we should be looking at these things to see how they apply to us. We should be looking at everything with a Moorish American perspective. We should have our own news to break these events down for us. We should be studying and building our communities, our businesses, everything up to prosper now. Right? Because for us, that's what this means. This is a symbol. Hey, it's your time to shine. It's time for us to rise. And on that note, Morris, I yield the floor. If any of you have any comments or questions, please feel free to speak. Islam.
Islam, all praise due to Allah, honest to the Prophet, noble to Ali, and honest to all you Moors on the call for the Sunday meeting. Islam, what I've noticed, as far as like symbology, um, all of those symbols that you expressed for the what you said, the Ta, like this is all new to me, but so pardon flesh. They all came together and placed another symbol, a whole symbol, with the letter A. And, we always have, grown to understand what alpha and omega actually, is. And alpha is a beginning. So omega is the end, correct? So with that being said, this is a new beginning rather than an end, or it's a beginning to an end with the new beginning. Islam.
Islam, brother, makes perfect sense to me. Like you, and with what you said, yeah, if something's ending, that means something else is beginning. So it's also like with what you're saying, it's happening here. Same place where it's ending, the new beginning is coming up out of here. Or the phoenix is rising from the ashes. Yeah. Islam.
And it's also pretty close to the 45-degree angle, and it's like what I'm looking at is one, maybe two, maybe three 45-degree angles, and some of them are pointing east. It's another way to look at it.
Islam, gratitude, brother. All right, Islam Moors. The floor is open, Moors. If you have any other questions or comments, Moors, please feel free to chime in. Islam Moors. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and go into the closing of the meeting. If there's no further questions or comments, we're gonna go ahead and read our divine warning and
Islam?
Islam, brother. My pardon. Go ahead, brother.
Islamism, no. I just rise to my highest heights, giving all perfect praises to our Father God Allah and our divine prophet in these days and time, Noble Drew Ali. I just wanted to point out something when I was looking at what was up there. That reminded me of looked like the compass to me. And for chapter 5, it talks about we use the compass to draw circles around our passions and our desire to keep them in the boundaries of righteousness. So I just wanted to put that on the floor. Islamism.
Islam, brother, that's good. That's another reminder for us. See the signs and symbols. So for others, This is it's the end. It's the X you X'd out. But yeah, like you were saying, hey, that's just a reminder for us. This is the way to our salvation. Like you said, use that compass, draw the circle around our passions and desires. This is how we come into the covenant. So, just more signs and symbols, just reminding us of our pathway to salvation, right? How we're standing on that solid rock of salvation, not drowning in the cares of the world. So that's, beautiful. And gratitude, brother.
Islam Sheik, I got a question to ask you, or something I wanted to state on the floor.
Islam,
Islam?
brother.
I was doing research last week, and what I found was in the United States of America, we have at least 3 of the smallest towns in the United States of America in all different places. And all 3 of those places have about at least 2, for example, have at least 1 same resident was elected herself to be a mayor. So it's things that we can do to have political power, just to put that on the floor. And I'll talk to you a little bit more about that at another time. I'm gonna do some more research. And with that, I would like to say Islamism.
Islam, brother. Yeah, definitely contact me on the side and appreciate it, brother. All right. Just make sure I didn't miss anybody. Did anyone else have anything that you wanted to share before we close out? Okay, if not, we will go ahead and read our additional laws and divine warning. Additional laws for the Moorish Americans by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Act 1. Grand sheiks and governors and heads of all temples, all businesses, each said of any group of members. Any former officer that violates these laws is subject to be removed from his office under a heavy restriction, etc., by the Prophet or the Grand Sheik. Act 2. All members are to attend their ADUP meetings and their public meetings promptly. If a member is found standing around on a meeting period, shall be fined 50 cents on the first case, and on the second he will be fined $1, which will go on your emergency fund. If member is working, his monthly dues must be paid, and if he has money in the bank, he must subscribe for as much as he is able to the Moorish Uplifting Fund, because it takes finance to uplift the nation. Act 3. It is the lawful and divine duty of every good member, if he is able in finance, to aid me in saving the nation, and if he does not, he is an enemy to the cause of uplifting his own people, and justice must catch you. Let it be he or she according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, as I have the power invested in my hands, and I will have to enforce the law to save the nation. Act 4. All members, while up making a public speech, must not use any assertion against the American flag or speak radical against the church or any member of any organized group, because we are to teach love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Act 5. All members must promptly attend their meetings and send their children to Sunday school, and the teacher must confirm himself to the questionnaire, and let every member exercise his 5 senses who is able to do so, because out from your Sunday school comes the guiders of the nation. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality in their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali the Prophet to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his Father God Allah. A divine warning by the prophet for the nations. The citizens of all free national governments, according to their national constitution, are all of one family bearing one free national name. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirables and are subject to all inferior names and abuses and mistreatments that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the names and the principles that delude to slavery. I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah to warn my people to repent from their sinful ways and go back to the state of mind, to their forefathers' divine and national principles, that they will be law abiders and receive their divine right as citizens according to the free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. They are to claim their own free national name and religion. There is but one issue for them to be recognized by this government and of the earth, and it comes only through the connection of the Moorish Divine National Movement, which is incorporated in this government and recognized by all other nations of the world. And through it, they and their children can receive their divine rights, unmolested by other citizens, that they can cast a free national ballot at the polls under the free national constitution of the state's government, and not under a granted privilege, as has been the existing condition for many generations. You who doubt whether I, the prophet, and my principles are right for the redemption of my people, go to those that know the law in the city hall and among the officials in your government, and ask them under an intelligent tone, and they will be glad to render you a favorable reply. For they are glad to see me bring you out of darkness into light. Money doesn't make the man. It is free national standards and power that makes a man and a nation. The wealth of all national governments, gold and silver and commerce, belong to the citizens alone. And without your national citizenship, by name and principles, you have no true wealth. And I am hereby calling on all true citizens that stand for a national free government and the enforcement of the Constitution to help me in my great missionary work, because I need all support from all true American citizens of the United States of America. Help me to save my people who have fallen from the constitutional laws of the government. I am depending on your support to get them back to the constitutional fold again, that they will learn to love instead of hate, and will live according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, supporting our free national constitution of the United States of America. I love my people, and I desire their unity and mine back to their own free national and divine standard, because day by day they have been violating the national and constitutional laws of their government by claiming names and principles that are unconstitutional. If Italians, Greeks, English, Chinese, Japanese, Turks, and Arabians are forced to proclaim their free national name and religion before the constitutional government of the United States of America, it is no more than right that the law should be enforced upon all other American citizens alike. In all other governments, when a man is born and raised there and asks for his national descent name, and if he fails to give it, he is misused, imprisoned, or exiled. Any group of people that fail to answer up to the constitutional standards of law by name and principles, because to be a citizen of any government, you must claim your national descent name, because they place their trust upon issue and names formed by their forefathers. The word Negro deludes in the Latin language to the word nigger, the same as the word colored deludes to anything that is painted, varnished, and dyed. And every nation must bear a national descent name of their forefathers, because honoring thy fathers and thy mothers, your days will be lengthened upon this earth. These names have never been recognized by any true American citizens of this day. Through your free national name, you are known and recognized by all nations of the earth that are recognized by said national government in which they live. The 14th and 15th Amendments brought the North and South in unit, placing the Southerners, who were at that time without power, with the constitutional body of power. And at that time, 1865, the free national constitutional law that was in force since 1774 declared all men equal and free. And if all men are declared by the free national constitution to be free and equal, since that constitution has never been changed, there is no need for the application of the 14th and 15th Amendments for the salvation of our people and citizens. So, there isn't but one supreme issue for my people to use to redeem that which was lost, and that is through the above statements. Then the lion and the lamb can lie down together in yonder hills, and neither will be harmed, because love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice will be reigning in this land. In those days, the United States will be one of the greatest civilized and prosperous governments of the world. But if the above principles are not carried out by the citizens and my people in this government, the worst is yet to come. Because the great God of the universe is not pleased with the works that are being performed in North America by my people, and this great sin must be removed from the land to save it from enormous earthquakes, disease, etc. And I, the prophet, do hear and believe that this administration of the government, being more wisely prepared by more genius citizens that believe in their free national constitution and laws, and through the help of such classes of citizens, I, the prophet, truly believe that my people will find the true and divine way of their forefathers and learn to stop serving carnal customs and merely ideas of man that have never done them any good but have always harmed them. So I, the prophet, am hereby calling aloud with a divine plea to all true American citizens to help me to remove this great sin which has been committed and is being practiced by my people in the United States of America, because they know it is not the true and divine way, and without understanding they have fallen from the true light into utter darkness of sin. And there is not a nation on earth today that will recognize them socially, religiously, politically, or economically, etc., in their present condition of their endeavorment in which they themselves try to force upon a civilized world. They will not refrain from their sinful ways of action, and their deeds have brought Jim Crowism, segregation, and everything that brings harm to human beings on earth. And they fought the Southerner for all these great misuses, but I have traveled in the South and have examined conditions there, and it is the works of my people continuously practicing the things which bring dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives the life. And I am hereby calling on all true American citizens for moral support and finance to help me in my great missionary work to bring my people out of darkness into marvelous light. From the prophet. All right, Islam Moors. So before we close out, I just want to put the call out there for anyone who feels compelled to assist us in the great work of uplifting fallen humanity. Just make sure you go to MoorishAmericans.com to send a donation to our temple. You can just scroll down to the bottom of the screen and use the info on there to send a donation. Also, if you're ready to join and proclaim your nationality, use the contact button on the same website to reach out to us on the side. That's at MoorishAmericans.com. And now let's go ahead and close out. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I want to ask all members that are able to please stand and face the east for the closing prayer. All right, as we stand facing the east, and you do not need to repeat after me. Allah, bind our hearts and minds back to our ancient forefathers, divine creed, and principles. We ask this in thy holy name and the seven Elohim. Amen. Islam, peace and love, Moors. This meeting is now adjourned.
Happy Ramadan.
Islam.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Islam, peace and love.